engines were presented in the grey colour, sometimes for shows, but a lot of times for photographs. When you see all the official photographs with books of the black and white, it shows up rather well. But they used to paint them in grey, and then they would finish painting them whatever the customer required afterwards. And that's followed by another T3. Another one of these little Fowler rollers, they were popular with contractors who were tending to be paid on a yardage basis. In other words, the more surface they rolled, the more they got paid. And these T3s are very, very nippy little rollers, and so therefore a good T3 driver could cover more ground than the driver of a larger roller, and so the owner would be sending a larger bill into the local authority. And following that is a T3 tractor, a Tiger, which is much the same as the other one. I think we're blessed with half of the surviving Tiger tractors here, aren't we? If I cast my mind back to last year, Mark, didn't you discover that the collective noun for tigers is an ambush of tigers? Yes. So we have an ambush of tigers here. Now this Foster's also made slightly larger tractors than the 3-tonner we saw earlier, and this is a 5-ton Foster tractor, which I think has recently had a lot of work done. It does look quite nice. I think, did we not see that engine many years ago at the shows when it was maroon? Well, quite possibly we did. It's one of their Wellington tractors, this particular size. They were quite a numerous engine, quite a large percentage of Foster's output was the Wellington tractor. Another Marshall Agriculture, a single cylinder, I think this is a 7 horsepower, Northamptonshire registered. I think, if I remember rightly, this is one that Derek West used to own many years. We used to see it at Fairfield. Casting my mind back, there were 2 or 3 Marshalls that used to go to Fairfield regularly, weren't there? Yes. And not just your grandfather. John placed them with his compounds, but this one I think used to belong to Derek West, who for many years was the crew on the old tube which came through earlier. And Marshalls, they call this engine the OK type, which means OK standing for old kind. Why they thought that was an old type, well, I don't know, but the governors are much the same as they were in the 1880s, the same place on a cross shaft, not a Pickering type like a lot of other engines. And a feature of this engine is displayed by as it goes round, ladies and gentlemen, it is lacking its cladding. Now you'll see that between the smoke box where the chimney and the front wheels are and the firebox just in front of the flywheel, the boiler barrel looks smaller in diameter than other engines that we've seen, and this is because there is no lagging and cladding on it, and that should be clad with lagged with strips of wood originally, and then the tin sheet of the cladding is wrapped around and held on with the brass boiler band. So, which insulates it and keeps all the heat in. Yeah, the idea of course is, as Mark said, to retain the heat, but because this engine hasn't got its cladding and lagging on, you can see more of the detail of how the boiler is constructed. And the giant rivets that hold it all together. An engine which snuck in between, which has Dunblane on it, I think did spend an enormous amount of time on its side by Loch Ness. Yeah. There were 2 Aveling tractors that ended up, bizarrely, in Loch Ness. Were they dumped there, or did they crash there, or what is the actual history? I think they probably ran away, and the driver probably thought it was safer to jump off. Yeah, which was a classic thing with a runaway on a traction engine, not to be desired. And they lay there rusting away for decades and decades, and both of them have been variously extracted from Loch Ness, and this one has been restored. I'm not sure whether the other one has been completed or not. It's 3/4 of the way there.
It's on my list of things to do.
but they were pretty daunting restoration projects to take on, both of them, I would say.
A good pattern make drones as well.
To work from.
Then I'd have to go off and get certificate.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that looks to be today's parade of steam engines. We've seen all sorts of shapes and sizes, different types of engine, displaying how steam power was applied to different jobs of work, road haulage, agricultural work, road rolling, craning, all sorts of different ways in which the steam engine has provided a great service to mankind. One of the things that I think we ought to remember is that this type of use of steam, the traction engine, the locomotive boiler traction engine that we have here in this country was virtually unique to this country. If we had an American engine, there are one or two on the field, if we had an American engine parade, you would have seen how utterly different it appears compared to our engines.
And I don't think they developed the power in quite the same efficient way as these do.
They were not as adept at producing high pressure steam. I mean, most of these American engines run on about 120 pounds, which is fairly better than hot water.
I think, looking here, we must see 60 or 70 engines here. Not many shows you can see that many engines in the bridge. And this is only half of what's here.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the biggest display of traction engines you will see anywhere in this country this year, and probably the most varied as well. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, that is your parade of traction engines for today. And don't forget, the show is yet young. We've got 2 more days to go. You're very welcome to come back tomorrow and Sunday and carry on looking around the show and watching the events in the arena. There's so much to go and see. We talked already about the working field up there on the bank where the excavating machinery, the drag line, the bulldozers, I see the D9s at work up there. And things like a mountain on its own, that D9. Scraper boxes, excavators, track shovels, all sorts going on up there, as well as my old friends, the Philpotts brothers, who are demonstrating land drainage trenching with their vast Bath V10 Deutz engine trencher right up on the top. Further along on the working field, we've got the ploughing engines, as Mark was saying earlier, the invention of John Fowler, where the engines stand either side of the field and merely the implement itself is propelled by winch from the engine across the land.
Yeah.
Now there was a particular reason why this was the obvious way to do it when Fowler thought of it, which is that in this country a lot of land work is done in the wet months, in the winter, and the weight of a traction engine would not allow such a machine to tow a plough directly across the field. In America on the prairies, and we were just talking about the American engines, direct ploughing was how they did it, and American engines would be towing long big ploughs, probably 10 furrows, across the prairies. But we can't do it in this country, so Fowler devised the method of using winches to tow merely the implement, which is quite light, across the land, so that the land could be cultivated, and as a bonus it did not get compacted even in the same way that it does today with a modern tractor.
And also the showman's engines are working here. Some of them are actually powering the rides. If you look, when they're making their, when the ride starts, you'll notice the engine all of a sudden starts to work quite hard, and some of them have got meters on the side. You can see the change of current going up to sometimes 400 amps, which is quite a lot.
When I was going along the engine line at lunchtime, Mark, before the parade, I saw that 2 engines were working. The Burrell Starlight had got the bottom track on, which is the ride that's similar to the ride that the engine drove in the 1930s. And the big Fowler Super Lion, the first of the 4 Fowler Super Lions, the Lion, was driving Pat Collins's Walter. I'm sure there may be 1 or 2 more on the ride tonight. It's always worth going to watch a showman's engine at work.
And I wonder if people in the crowd, if you're sensitive with your hearing, cover your ears, but could we ask the drivers So can we hear your whistles, please, before you leave the ring? Submarine off the port bow. Okay drivers, thank you all very much indeed. Don't waste all the steam you need to get out of the ring. And if you'd like to lead off, Jack, are you prepared to lead off? Right, if you now lead off in an orderly fashion, because we're just coming up to time for the next ring event. And also, just a minute, when you hear a traction engine use its whistle in working time, that would have hardly occurred at all, apart from planning engines who signal to each other with their whistles, but otherwise it was strictly for emergency use only.
Good to see you, Jack. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, a fine display of steam power, probably as good as you'll see anywhere, certainly as you'll see anywhere in the country this year. Thank you to all the engine drivers, the owners, the crews, and the hangers-on who turn up and polish in the mornings to make this a tremendous display. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for another go, but from Mark and me now this afternoon, it's thank you and goodbye. And I must apologise, I didn't mention the Locomobile steam car that went round as well. That was a cream one that went by earlier, sorry about that. But as Alan said, yes, we'll see you tomorrow. There might even be more engines, who knows. But thank you very much from myself and from Alan. Goodbye.